thank you so much for finding time to being with us today. This is Good Morning Africa. My name is Miriam Ogutu, and it is a pleasure to have you on board. I'll take us through the headlines this morning from Kenya and on the Daily Nation. Head to head in the numbers game between Raila and Ruto, whoever secures the majority of about 6 million voters in battleground counties will carry the day. And that is the main headline. And Keroche rose back to life after 957 million Kenya shillings tax arrears deal with Revenue Authority. The story is on page 8. Even after show of tight security, KCSE exam leaks. That is on the back page. And the government mouths lifting nationwide ban on scrap metal trade. Dealers will be forced to apply for fresh licenses and belong to associations and also pay fees ranging from 150,000 to 250,000 annually. The story is on page 9. Odinga, I will make Uhuru my advisor. That is on page 6. The Standard newspaper, Azimio fresh fight to force DP to resign, angered by Ruto's scathing and persistent attack on the government. Uhuru and Raila allies have renewed their calls for him to quit, questioning his continued stay in the same government he unceasingly criticizes. That is on page 6. Direct ODM party tickets for Raila key allies. That is on page 8. Manu set for another empty season. You'll find that on page 56. Magoha phones are now exam menace. That is on page 11. And Keroche reopens after deal with Kenya Revenue Authority. And the Star newspaper, IEBC wants manual results given priority. Electoral agency wants physically delivered results to take precedence over electronic transmission when differences occur. The story is on page 4 and 5. Shocker for ODM aspirants as Raila's party starts issuing direct tickets. That is on page 6. And handshake brothers have never slept hungry. That is what Ruto said yesterday he was in Gaira yesterday. Supervisor and 63 candidates arrested in Kakuma camp on page 10. And that's what we have. So let me just go through quickly some regional newspapers and see what do we have in a few African countries. And the new vision from Uganda, NSSF pays out 550 billion Uganda shillings today. Kagame gives Muhoozi. Okay, and then ADF operation. Museveni's briefs MPs on UPDF deployment. And the Daily Monitor still from Uganda. Inside Museveni's NRM caucus meet, government makes U-turn on visits, funds in schools. Daily News from Tanzania, we've opened the country. That is, I think, what President Suluhu is saying. I guess in line with COVID-19 restrictions, she's saying the country is open now. The Citizen still from Tanzania, Samia on her first year in office and the future. Looking back at a year without John Pombe Magufuli. And then Daily News from Zimbabwe, government bids to arrest rising local prices as worried authorities are moved to slash fuel taxes. New day still from Zimbabwe, voters roll. CCC turns heat on the Zimbabwean Electoral Commission. And the Guardian from Nigeria, IEBC crisis, Buhari takes charge, pushes back governors. And the Punch from Nigeria, El Rufai, other APC governors lose out. Buni meets Buhari, returns today. And that's what we have in Kenya and some of the papers we have from, I think, a few countries in the continent. So thank you so much. This morning, I'm joined by Gladwell Kiruga from Nairobi. Gladwell, a very good morning to you.
A very good morning to you, Miriam. I'm live from Langata, as you can see.
All right. Nice to have you this morning and good morning to you. And you're also joined by Daniel Wesonga, our correspondent and in-house analyst also from Nairobi. Wesonga, very good morning to you.
Yes, a very good morning to you, Miriam Ogutu, at our headquarters in Nairobi. Good morning to my sister, Gladwell Kiragu, who is in Langata. Good morning to our viewers here in Nairobi, Kenya, East Africa, and the rest of the globe who are tuning in for the Good Morning Africa at this particular time.
Okay, and before we get into the politics, let's just look at the headline on the Star newspaper, where now IEBC wants manual results given priority. The story is on page 4 and 5, so let's just head on there and see what is it that now, IEBC is proposing, or rather is seeking to do. In another proposal, the Wafula Chebukati-led team suggests presiding officers. No, they're saying from page 1. So let me just start from page 1. That is the front page, I suppose. All right. So the electoral agency is proposing fundamental changes in managing results transmission, whereby physically transmitted results should be given precedence over electronic transmission. In proposed changes to the election laws, the IEBC wants Parliament to pave way for both manual and electronic transmission of presidential results. However, where there is a variance between the two, the physical results would supersede the electronic results. It is hoped that the two, one being the image of the other, will be similar. Crispin Otieno, Director of Legal Affairs, told Parliament, he said in the event of variation, the physical form would take precedence. And then it continues on page 4. In another proposal, the Wafula Chebukati-led team suggests presiding officers should be allowed to move outside the polling station to search for network to send the electronic results. In such a case, the presiding officer shall be accompanied by the agents and security. They might have to travel to the constituency tallying center. That is so that where it is not possible to transmit results, they can move to a place in search of network with security officers. If they fail to get a network, they move to constituency tallying center and transmit the results, or we are told members of Parliament. Kiruga, what is your reaction to that? Gladwell?
Hi, Miriam. Pardon, since the network on my side is a little bit low.
Okay, so let me just go to Daniel, then I'll come back to you. Daniel, I'm sure you've heard what the IEBC is suggesting. I don't know, what are your thoughts, and will this cure the problems and the suspicions that usually shroud our electoral process?
Thank you so much, Miriam. And of course, you understand that I'm an IT expert by training as well. And one thing about information technology is that it actually fails. And that has been something that even the developers of various IT platforms have not been able to handle. You know, these are man-made platforms. These are man-made technology. And therefore, at times, it fails since it is dependent on so many other maybe factors, such as maybe energy, such as maybe even the weather. Today, if we have a 4G or 5G network coverage here in Nairobi, and the weather becomes a bit unbearable, it will have an implication on the strength of the signal, or maybe the bandwidth that maybe the data could be transmitted on, because it uses, some of this technology uses the airwaves technology. So I believe whatever the legal affairs director is saying is actually something quite true, because today you might go to your village, you realize that the 4G network is working, but the moment it starts raining, or maybe just out of nowhere, maybe we have a blackout, and then you realize that you might not even be able to use your cell phone in the village. Even here in Nairobi, it comes a time where even the biggest telecom company, Safaricom, has its customers are not having home internet. So I believe this is something which has to be put into consideration. We cannot cast it on stone that only maybe electronic transmission is whatever will be held maybe valid by the IEBC in the vote transmission exercise. So I believe this is something that should actually be worn like a mixed and match kind of attire, in that in areas where they cannot be able to electronically transmit the results, then they can actually resort to manual transmission. Mm-hmm. And therefore, even when they say that they can go to another area to be able to transmit the results, it's actually acceptable. At the end of the day, we want efficiency. And if technology gives us that efficiency, then we have to go with the technology. But in areas where technology actually fails, then we can actually resort to manual transmission of the results. Remember, when the information technology, the IT came into being, they actually thought that it's going to replace man in a lot of maybe duties and career maybe path. But you realize that sometimes man needs to be there. Somebody needs to be there. Some things need to be done manually whenever technology fails. So these are maybe occurrences that are not isolated, Miriam. So I believe the IEBC is actually on the right path. You have to preempt and plan for a scenario where maybe technology doesn't work. And therefore, that is why we need to have both electronic and manual transmission of these results, Miriam. I submit.
Okay, thank you so much. Gladwell, I don't know if you can hear me now. Good morning.
Good morning, Miriam. Yes, I can hear you right now.
All right. So what we are looking at is the front story on the Star newspaper, where now IEBC is proposing that perhaps there should be manual results transmission of manual results in places where perhaps technology will fail. And also, in another proposal, the Wafula Chebukati-led team suggests presiding officers should be allowed to move outside the polling station to search for network to send the electronic results. In such a case, the presiding officer shall be accompanied by the agent. So it's not like the presiding officer will be by him or herself. So they'll have to be accompanied by, security officers and also the party agents. They might have to travel to the constituency tallying center, so all in case they have to move out of the tallying center and maybe outside in search of network. If that network fails, they have to go to the constituency level. But all this time, the party agents and the officers will have to accompany, the presiding officer. And this is so that where it is not possible to transmit results, they can move to a place in search of network with security officers. If they fail to get a network, they move to constituency tallying center and transmit the results. Currently, presiding officers are barred from sending results outside the coordinates of the mapped and gazetting polling stations. And perhaps this was a challenge that maybe IEBC had at the last time. But now IEBC is saying that manual results should be given a priority. I don't know, how do you feel about that?
Yes, Miriam. What I think about the IEBC, about the manual transmission, I would agree to it. For example, you can remember the by-election that we recently had in Juja constituency. As the vote tallying was going on, the electricity went off, and so it brought in a lot of chaos, whereby the people were not decided, and you can see the other party, they were so mad, and hence they said that the votes have been stolen. So I'd agree to it, because also in most villages, they don't have the electricity, and they don't have a backup to it. So I'd agree to them having the manual transmission, and they should be accompanied by the party agent and the officers for transparency. I submit.
Okay. Jevan Karanja, I see you've joined us. A very good morning to you and welcome to the show. All right.
The audio.
Karanja, can you hear me? Okay, so Karanja is not there. So Daniel Wasong, I know you've given your thoughts on this, but where there's a variance, where there's, the results are different, maybe the one that we have on the electronic, portal with the one that is on manual. IEBC is saying we give prominence to the one on the manual one. Don't you think this will perhaps create some problems?
Thank you, Miriam. And of course, in my earlier submission, I talked about technology and maybe the cons of the technological world is that sometimes it fails. And also,
Daniel, what the IEBC is saying, should there be a variance between the physical results to the electronic results, then the physical results should supersede the electronic results. Let's have in mind what even necessitated us to insist on an electronic, system as part of our voting.
Yes, I was just going there. Like I said, technology has its pros and cons. And like I mentioned earlier, one of the cons for technology is that sometimes it fails. And another one, which I forgot to mention, is that some systems cannot be tamper-proof, whereas others can be tamper-proof, but mostly they are actually maybe vulnerable to maybe unethical social behavior, such as hacking, such as phishing, and maybe even alteration. by outside parties who might enter the system illegally and be able to maybe incorporate an algorithm that will be able to vary the numbers there. Remember, information technology, especially the computing programming language, is built on mathematics, and these algorithms can actually do anything for anybody, so long as you can be able to maybe bypass the security features of maybe the passwords and all that. Someone can be able to get in and be able to alter, and that is why you hear even in some banks you hear about an IT guy who was able to manipulate the system, in that the deposits that are being made by the clients, a portion of it actually goes to his bank account, or maybe the bank accounts, pseudo bank accounts for cronies, and they are able to now withdraw this money. So one thing about these systems is that they can be tampered with. Most of them, there is no system which is maybe tamper-proof 100%. There's a way they can always improve it and make it maybe hard for hackers and other criminals to get into it. Yeah, I'll take you back to maybe a website such as Facebook. You realize that Facebook, until recently, it was actually easy to hack a Facebook account. But day by day, you realize that they actually work on it to ensure that it becomes actually tamper-proof. So if I've got an organization which is worth billions of dollars like Facebook, was until recently maybe vulnerable to hacking and all that, what guarantee do we have that the KIMS or maybe the system that IEBC is using will be tamper-proof? Okay. So that is actually an eventuality that is actually there. It is a risk that is actually there, and that is why the IT risk team might have recommended that in the case where maybe such risk occurs and we realize there's a discrepancy between the results on the system and the results on the physical forms, then we shall go with the physical forms. Why? Because once the physical forms are filled, there are signatures there which are done manually. We have a stamp there which is put manually and is actually difficult to tamper with. You cannot forge signatures of maybe 5-6 individuals and it comes out clearly. You cannot even forge the stamp for IEBC and it comes out clearly. Or maybe even the forms themselves. I believe there are some watermarks or maybe some features, extra features on the paper which actually make it more original and authentic, in that when you touch it, you realize you can be able to distinguish an original from a fake one. Just the same thing they do with money. So Miriam, I believe that will give a very, very credible information. But one thing about information technology, like I said, it is prone to being tampered with and being infringed in terms of people gaining unauthorized access. And once they get unauthorized access, they can be able to manipulate the figures and everything. And also, like we said, it is actually prone also to failure. So in as much as we are living in a technological world which promises efficient transmission of data, speedy execution of data into information and all that, it also has its problems. And it is upon these problems, I believe, upon which IEBC is actually setting up its case. So I understand when they say that they're going to go, in such a scenario, they're going to go with the physical data rather than the digital data. Miriam, I submit.
Thank you so much, Daniel. When you explain it like that, it makes sense now. I think it's clearer even for our viewers who perhaps were a bit confused as to why we will want to pedal back, many steps and go back towards perhaps they consider brought us a lot of problems in the previous elections that necessitated us to have an electoral process. But I think with that explanation from an IT expert like you, Wesonga, I think it's much easier for our viewers to understand. So thank you so much for that. Jeevan Karanja, can you hear me? Good morning.
Good morning, Miriam, and good morning to our viewers and the rest of the panelists.
Okay, so the story we're looking at before we move on to another story is now the electoral agency wants physically deliver results to take precedence over electronic transmission when differences occur. So if the electronic results differs from that of the physical form, then the physical form will take precedence. What's your thoughts on that?
Miriam, I think this is a matter that we have discussed before. And I was very categorical that we are in a digital era. So we need also to move with the speed. And like other countries, we saw in United States when they were having their polls, they did it electronically. Even the voting itself, you could just go to a booth and vote, and the results would be transmitted directly to the national tallying center. I wish we can get to that level where presidential results will not only be counted at constituency level, but to have a system whereby after after casting your ballot, it will go directly. Even the voting itself should be made electronic, so that when you vote, the vote will just count directly to the National Tally Center without going through this process of the polling centers, of the returning officers, and so on, because we know that is where manipulations happens. And if that is the case, Miriam, then we should be ready. Our courts should be ready for huge huge petitions as we go to these polls, because the physical the physical report or the forms are prone to manipulation. And I think they should have given the prudence, especially on the presidential ballot, to kind of this system that they have, because they have these electronic systems. I think they should take the center state. But also, and done, Miriam, even the electronic system is prone to failures. Therefore, we need to get away of proving that what is being presented there is the original results. I think even if it's done in physical way, we should have a way of ensuring that this is the original state of the will of the people at the polling centers, all the way to the constituency level, to county levels, and so on. And I think this will come by ensuring that those people who manage the elections, those people who count the votes, are men and women of integrity. Because if they are not, whether we have electronic systems, whether we have whichever systems, they can manipulate them. It is all about our character, it's all about men and women of integrity who will put the interest of this country beyond their personal and selfish gains. Because we know during this electioneering process, if there are people who reap big, if there are people who make a good living out of it, are the people who manage these elections, because they can be corrupted, they can be given some dollars here and there, and they end up altering with the results. Therefore, a lot need to be done. IEBC needs to be adequately prepared to avoid the scenarios that we have seen in previous elections. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. I don't know, because you brought up the issue of the US, and you know how they vote, and once you place your ballot, once you've ticked whatever it is, the person you want to choose, and you place it someplace, like it's electronically accounted, and so much part of that is electronic, as much as there is also the physical part of that electoral process. But it's because the US has proper structures in place in all over the country. So, internet is assured, connectivity is good, and all that. I don't know if we rushed with this system, and I know there are issues in place at that time that necessitated this to be introduced in an electoral process. I don't know if we were ready for it as a country. I don't know if you had proper structures, for this type of, electoral system in our country. Daniel, or rather Gladwell, do you think we rushed? Because really, if we have to embrace technology, then we have to embrace it fully. Do you think we rushed?
Okay, to me, Miriam, I think we rushed, and they won't be effective currently, because as we can see, our Kenyan economy currently, it's not that good. So I would think we would take it the way we were doing it, but we'd be more civilized.
We'd be more civilized. Daniel, I know we are struggling to embrace technology, and Kenya, when you compare us to a lot of countries, especially we're leading in technology, I think in the greater Eastern Africa, but we still have a long way to go when it comes to even this, our voting process and it being incorporated electronically. Did we rush the process, or maybe as we continue with the subsequent, electioneering periods coming in the near future, maybe it will get better with time? But for right now, we keep struggling. Or did we rush?
Miriam, just like Gladwell, I think I stand in the same view, and I think we rushed in implementing this particular maybe legislation in regards to our election laws. And you realize that as a country, we are a country which is accustomed to shadow boxing, and shenanigans more than substance. And that is why we are always carried out by euphoria of whatever is happening outside the other continents or maybe other world, rather than maybe focusing on being able to measure our capability accordingly. And it reminds me during the debate, you remember, you understand first of all that these laws are actually enacted by the parliament. And you remember that during even the debate on the ICC matter, whether to go to The Hague or maybe have a local court handle our Kenyan issues here, they were of the euphoria that we go to Hague and stop being vague, only for them actually to come out again to cry foul over the matter. So that is the same thing. We see something happening in the UK or in the US. We actually want to do the same thing here in Kenya. It is actually a case of monkey see, monkey do, and which actually does not work in the field of technology. You remember even when we integrated our new constitution, which allowed the devolved system of government, so many worthy individuals, people who had respected themselves, people who are well-to-do, people who had money, actually ran to stand to contest for senator's position, simply because Barack Obama, who is a Kenyan, had vied for Illinois senator, and after that he ran for presidency. So many of our leaders were actually disillusioned to think that if you run for senator, it was actually a big deal, and it will easily make you become president in the near future, not knowing that actually the governors were the real deal, people who call shots, who had a bigger budget. And because we are accustomed to corruption, of course, it also meant that they had an opportunity to steal more money. And that is why in the second election in 2017, everybody who was senator now wanted to become governor. And that is because of euphoria. As a people, we are carried by things without actually measuring them. So to me, I think it is a good law. The world is going technological. Everyone wants to go the IT way. But we really need to set up the infrastructure. Okay. You cannot talk about 100% maybe automated or digital transmission if some areas in this country do not even have the network coverage. Like we saw the other day in Baringo, for you to be able to make a phone call, maybe in a certain area, you have to walk like even 4 kilometers, 5 kilometers to go on the top of a hill for you to be able to make a phone call to report about banditry attacks. And that tells you that we have a big problem, because these areas actually have polling stations. How will they be able to transmit these results if you make it mandatory for the results to be electronically transmitted? It only means that the returning officer will have to walk maybe a few constituencies for them to be able to transmit these results. So we ought to have, first of all, build up structures before we bring these laws into being. Okay. And that is why sometimes I believe even BBI will have been much better come before we go for the election, because BBI was recommending some very, very strong structural maybe overhaul exercises, which will have enabled us even to achieve the 2/3 gender role, achieved some very, very important matters in terms of elections and how we conduct ourselves. Yes. And therefore, that is all we needed. We get structures, we implement the prerequisite conditions for these structures, and then we go for elections. All right. You don't go for election now with maybe certain rules where on the ground it is not actually, it cannot be veritable. It is not viable actually to do so. We will be living in utopia, which is not even realistic in the world that Kenya is conducting itself in regards to the election, Miriam. Okay. I submit.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you. And even as we speak, I think Kenya Revenue Authority is working overtime to digitize its platform, and it's really coming up with very innovative ways to collect taxes. People who have been running away and all that, and I'm sure it will succeed. And from the results, I think KRA is doing pretty good in that, but we're still having troubles, with our electronic system when it comes to voting and transmission of results. Interesting. Okay, page 2 on the Star newspaper. Pressure mounts on Ruto to resign after defection. Azimio allied leaders have piled pressure on Deputy President William Ruto to quit office. They argued his tenure has been brought into question after accepting nomination as the presidential candidate for the United Democratic Alliance. The pro-handshake group fired at the DP, castigating him for attacking President Uhuru Kenyatta and the Jubilee administration, yet enjoying benefits facilitated by the government. The Star has established that Jubilee is exploring grounds under which they would challenge the DP's continued stay in office. Vice Chairman David Murathe said on Tuesday that they are seeking a legal opinion on the fate of the DP after he was endorsed as UDA presidential flag bearer. With the DP, it is a bit different, and we are going to ask for advisory opinion on his fate, Murathe said. Murathe argued that it was against the law for Ruto to continue serving in the position when he has defected from the party that sponsored him. And you know, maybe I was just naive, but I was just hoping that after DP was crowned the flag bearer officially for the UDA, that, you know, the right and the moral thing to do maybe would be for him now to resign from his position and just, you know, focus now on his campaigns, you know, through the UDA. But DP, I think, has planned to stay on until we go to these elections. And now pressure is mounting for Ruto to resign, Jeevan.
Thank you very much, Miriam. And this pressure, we are not seeing it for the first time. This pressure has been there since 2019. And Deputy President William Ruto, sorry for that.
Okay, we apologize. You're listening to some nice music, but go ahead.
Yeah, thank you very much. As I was saying, this pressure is not the first time we have seen leaders mount pressure to the Deputy President to resign from Jubilee Party. And so unfortunate that I think the honorable thing that he should have done is to resign. If he feels Jubilee Party is not the party that the party that has failed to deliver its mandate to Kenyans, I don't know what he is doing in the same party. But you know what Deputy President wants? He wants to continue enjoying the luxury that comes with being the Deputy President. He wants to continue enjoying state protection. He wants to continue enjoying the salary that comes with the seat of the Deputy President, but at the same time sabotaging the same government that he is enjoying all this from. Therefore, the Deputy President, and I have said this earlier, the Deputy President will act as an irritant from within. He will irritate Jubilee members, he will irritate the President, he will irritate everybody else from within. He is not bothered of going out there and supporting UDA fully. He wants one step to be in Jubilee and the next step to be in UDA. So after he kills Jubilee, he will have a rescue place in the UDA party. And that is not how leaders behave. If you feel like you have reached to a level where you disagree with your boss, where you disagree with the structures that has been laid out by your party, the honorable thing to do is to quit the party and concentrate with the party that you feel is best suited for your interest, is best suited for the policies, or a party that is aligned to your way of doing things. And that is what Deputy President should have done. Therefore, Miriam, this pressure mounts to zero effect. There's nothing that will see come from this pressure, because at the end of the day, Deputy President will remain to be the Deputy President unless he is forced, unless he is impeached, unless the law takes its course, and maybe a legal interpretation is done, and maybe points out that the Deputy President needs to step out. Deputy President will remain in Jubilee, irritating them, disorganizing them, and he'll keep them busy chasing him in expense of him campaigning and continuing with his normal business and gaining from the same party. This is so unfortunate.
Karanja, if I can understand what you're saying, because he really has no work to do right now. So all he has to do is continuing, campaigning. So by him staying there and being a menace, if I may use that word, in Jubilee Party, you're saying he will continue distracting President Uhuru Kenyatta, and now President Uhuru Kenyatta is working overtime to secure his legacy. So he wants to continue disrupting that, but at the same time going on about his business of campaigning, because he has no work to do in the national level. Is that what you're saying?
And at the same time, Miriam, the deputy president wants to ride on Jubilee scorecard for his campaign. The same government that he says has failed, he wants to use the achievements of Jubilee administration to peddle his campaigns. Therefore, that's not the way great leaders do. Therefore, I don't see the deputy president in any way resigning. He will continue doing his campaigns that he has been doing for the last 4 years. And I think the Jubilee Party, to some extent, they slept and they give too much space to deputy president to dominate the political arena. Now they are waking up when it's too late. I think they should not even bother with deputy president, whether he is in UDA or whether he is in Jubilee.
Okay.
What they should do is strengthening the Jubilee Party, is sponsoring Jubilee candidates around the country, and concentrating with their candidate, and that is the Azimio flag bearer. Because William Ruto will take them around the bush. Well, they will keep busy chasing him, but William Ruto is not even bothered with what they are saying. He is busy campaigning and milking with the Napier grass from Jubilee Party. Thank you.
Okay, and they will continue chasing the waterfalls. Gladwell Kiruga, what's your thoughts on this story?
Thank you, Miriam. Let me put it this way, that in 2017, when they formed the Jubilee government, that is Uhuru and Ruto, that was like a marriage. And they took the vows and ate the victory cake. But what happened afterwards? The deputy president saw it not fit, and he formed his party, that is the UDA, and hence betrayed the Jubilee government. But now, what is making us stranded and confused is that he should resign, because he's no longer part of the Jubilee government, and as he's putting it, the Jubilee has failed. And so he's working on his party, that is the UDA. So as Mr. Karanja has said, what the deputy president is doing is just enjoying the Jubilee privileges from the Jubilee privilege that is being given. And when he was crowned as the flag bearer of the UDA, hence he should have resigned and continued with his campaign.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you so much. Now, Murathe said Jubilee will write to the speakers of the two houses of parliament to declare vacant seats of Jubilee MPs and senators who defect to UDA. And Daniel, Javan just brought up an interesting perspective there, saying that perhaps Jubilee should not be bothered with trying to maybe start a process to impeach the deputy president and all that, because we know, as he said. He said that perhaps the DP will continue causing confusion and problems here, as he has no work to do really. He has time, to come as he continues with his campaign. But impeaching the deputy president right now, what does Jubilee stand to lose, if at all?
Miriam, I believe whatever Javan Karanja said is somehow true, and whatever my sister Kiragu has said also is somehow true. Because this move, as you know, we are only a few months to the elections, and by law, Jubilee Party actually should go ahead and be able to recall all these MPs, including the rogue deputy president who has been championing the affairs of UDA, despite being that he was elected on the same ticket as President Uhuru Kenyatta on the Jubilee Party. So all these MPs who are claiming to be members of UDA, who are delegates of UDA, should actually forthwith cease to be members of Jubilee Party, and which automatically means by law that they also cease or vacate the seats which they were elected on by Jubilee Party. And if there is any other government political appointee also who perceives themselves as the members of UDA Party, they should also resign forthwith and leave the seats to be filled by the bona fide members of the Jubilee Party. However, when you look at it also politically, it might not be quite effective because we are only a few months to the general election. And I don't believe even the judiciary who really want us to have by-elections maybe before the August polls. So maybe perhaps if they could resign and the judiciary now says that we are not going to have by-elections and we're going to proceed up to maybe August and is when we're going to be having the polls, then well and good. Those seats will remain vacant. But you understand that that might also maybe occasion constitutional crisis of sorts, because maybe the MPs might still not might still be maybe required to maybe participate in some of the sittings maybe which are yet to happen before the elections, and therefore maybe the absentia might mean that perhaps that will be an act of futility. So to me, I think it might be counterproductive perhaps maybe to pursue that particular path. But nonetheless, if these are people of integrity, if they believe in the rule of law, if these are people who are principled, they would have actually maybe handed in their resignations and maybe sought a new mandate under UDA. But because these are masters of impunity, people who have stolen from this country, these people who do not respect the will of the people of Kenya, people who think they can do maybe their own things in the realms of impunity and anarchy and get away with it, you will not see even a single of them resigning. Yesterday, you saw William Ruto tell the board operators to go to the police station to take their motorbikes. That is an incitement, Miriam. That cannot happen. That can only happen in a banana republic where people believe in impunity. You saw the other day Moses Kuria saying that they stole the elections by force, and you've seen the way he talks during his aspirants training. He says that they can win, he trains them to win by all costs under all circumstances. And that can only mean that even through rigging, intimidation, and killing people. So these are people who are products of anarchy, and that is why they cannot even resign. Moses Kuria himself, David Murathe is on record, the Jubilee vice chairperson, saying that Moses Kuria got 4,000 votes in a polling station of 800 votes. How on earth can that happen, that is something close to a miracle. So these are the same people we are expecting maybe that they, out of principle, they will resign. They will not. So I think Jubilee Party should not waste time pursuing such kind of individuals. Rather, we should concentrate on campaigns and actually being able to strengthen the party in the grassroots and be able to champion the Azimio la Umoja agenda throughout the country, other than maybe fighting unnecessary battles like those. Because I believe if you dare a pig in a mud fight, you might end up being dirty, and the pig wouldn't mind doing so, whereas you'll be so much maybe concerned about your image. So to me, yes, the law allows Jubilee to pursue such horizons, but nonetheless, it will be counterproductive also if they had to go into it full throttle. So it will pay off as much, Miriam. I submit.
Okay, thank you so much. And of course, on the leading, all the newspapers have the story of Raila Odinga in his tour to the UK, but we shall not look at that because we'll be back at the top of the hour, and that will be the subject of our conversation. And that is why, I'm not bringing that subject up in case you're wondering. But as I said, the DP yesterday was in Gara. He was... he was campaigning there. And I don't know, not just the DP and his entourage, but even these other parties, why they choose to campaign in a very busy place that will cause a lot of traffic because I was affected. I don't understand. And during peak hours, like this, even as they go on with their, campaigns, and this is not just to the UDA, but also to other parties, man. Could you be considerate? End it after one just somewhere so that, you don't interfere with the traffic and the flow and the business of the people who, just want to go on about their days. So anyway, the DP, Ruto, has sustained his spirited criticism of his boss, Uhuru Kenyatta, warning Kenyans not to elect leaders who have never slept hungry. The DP spoke during a Kenya Kwanza rally in Gara hours after he accepted the UDA nomination as a presidential candidate. He said Uhuru and ODM boss Raila Odinga do not understand the problems of ordinary Kenyans. The Handshake brothers have never slept hungry. They have never gone to job hunting, and they do not know what poverty is. Okay. maybe President Uhuru Kenyatta has not got job hunting, but Raila, we have some records. He has worked, he has taught at University of Nairobi, but anyway, I digress. Ruto said, he said Kenyans should choose people who know what it means to sleep hungry and not children of privileged families. So that is what he said. That sounds like a class war right there. And Ruto said on border borders that innocent border operators across the country were punished over a sexual assault incident on a female motorist on Forest Road in Nairobi on March 4th, and is quoted as saying border operators have been taken through hell because of a few criminals. We will not allow them to be made to abandon the business. The criminals who committed the offense should face the law. Let us not make border business look like a crime. The criminals are same as those who stole Kemsa money. They should be arrested as well, he added. The deputy president said operators who had their motorcycles confiscated should have their bikes and money paid as fines returned. And criminals are people who break the law. Those who did evil at Forest Road should be arrested. Of course, we say that, but he's taken how he's been addressing the issue of the crackdown on the border and his choice of words. And I think I listened to a clip where he was saying, they should go to the police station and get their motorbikes. And when you hear it in Kiswahili, I think that is the language he was using to express this. It felt like an incitement, but I don't know. Maybe it doesn't qualify fully. But what are your thoughts? He's saying, these people have not slept hungry even for a day, so they don't understand the struggle of the common man. Gladwell, as we conclude. Gladwell? Daniel, go ahead.
Yes, sorry. Come up again.
The issue with the border and what Ruto said yesterday, and of course he started by saying that some of these leaders have never slept hungry. That will be, I think, President Uhuru Kenyatta and Raila Odinga. So, and they've never looked for a job in their lives, so they don't understand the struggle of the common man, and also his sentiments on the border. I don't know if you saw the clip. I think the Nation was on Twitter. I saw it where he was it sounded like he was inciting the border motorists to go to the police stations and get their borders and stuff like that.
Yes, thank you so much, Miriam. Sorry, I missed out the last part of your statement, but I've been able to get you quite well. And maybe if you'll allow me, I'll start with the issue of maybe campaigning at peak time hours when people are going out.
You have 1 minute because we are winding.
All right.
Up. Yes, go ahead.
Miriam. So on this one, I believe for those who don't know, is that William Ruto actually campaigns in marketplaces and places where crowds are already there. So when you see him posting photos with big crowds, just know he knows. William Ruto is very, very much aware of every market day across this country. He gets this information and actually he uses it to his advantage. So he never mobilizes. He goes there, he forces people to attend his rallies, and that is what he did yesterday. And he occasioned a very, very heavy traffic on Thika Road and other parts of town, where people could not be able to go home because William Ruto was forcing them to listen to his speech. Going back to the issue of border, Miriam, when William Ruto talks about somebody not sleeping hungry, not knowing how to look for jobs, William Ruto has no any other place he ever worked for in other than working in the government of Kanu. Once he was done with campus, he told us that they identified a piece of land in Eldoret, which was just sitting there. I don't know how, but he told us that way. And they sold it with the blessings of the late Mzee Moi, and he was able to buy his first car from there. And we know after campus, he went straight away to working with Professor Julio Jambo, who was by then an official of Kanu. And from there is when he joined YK92. And he has never tarmacked or maybe looked for a job opportunity in this country. So when he talks about President Uhuru Kenyatta or Raila Odinga not knowing how to look for work, he should be told that Raila Odinga actually worked in some of the organizations here in Nairobi. And when he started his first business, he had to sell his car. It is in the history books. It is in the gallery, public gallery. He can go and check it out. Even President Uhuru Kenyatta worked, Miriam. He used to bring some agricultural products all the way from central Kenya to Nairobi, with a pickup truck. William Ruto has no such a history. So when he talks about people who have always had a soft life, he should actually look in the mirror and he will see that in himself.
Okay.
So I don't think, Miriam, that was a statement which was made.
Oh. All right. Very well. Thank you so much. Gladwell.
Yes, an incitement which was meant to actually make the border people pick a bone of contention with the police, which would have resulted in casualties, and also an incitement against the government of the day, which is of which he's part of. And I believe he has a very, very good group of lawyers who represent criminals in UDA rather than maybe representing these borders in their case against maybe the state. So I believe the best way he would have called on these lawyers to go and represent these borders whose bikes had been confiscated by the police so that they are released, other than going the ways of anarchy. Miriam, I submit.
Okay, thank you so much. Gladwell.
Yes, Miriam, sorry, my network was a bit low.
Well, wait, I'm sorry, it's not clear, so I think I'll let you go for now. Thank you. I think we will catch up with you in the next show, because as you take care of your network. Thank you so much. Jevan, quickly, 1 minute, your last comment.
Yeah, thank you very much, Miriam. And I tell you, you should not be surprised by the traffic that is created by politicians when they flood to this overcrowded place. That is how they do. They take advantage, and it's about them, not about us. On the issue of Deputy President and the border issue, I think the Deputy President is known to extract some sympathy from different situations. When it comes to corruption, we do the same. When it comes to the border industry, we do the same. Therefore, we expected, and President Uhuru Kenyatta was very categorical that this issue, it will be politicized, and you'll see it happen. We have seen the Deputy President seeking some sympathy from that very incident. And that is the nature of our politics, and is a very bad way of doing things, especially when we are talking about an issue of matter, life and death. And William Ruto saying, the Deputy President, saying that we should elect leaders who have struggled to get employment, leaders who know the cost of going without 3 meals per day. Then the Deputy President himself has never worked anywhere. He cannot show any payslip from any institution that he has worked for, apart from YK92 and as a member of parliament to date. Therefore, when he talks of this issue and talking about other families, Miriam, Deputy President has been in office for the last 30 years as a member of parliament and 10 years as a Deputy President. Raila Odinga has struggled to be where he is today. It is not by luck, it is by hard work, it is by persistent and being consistent. Mm-hmm. He has only been a prime minister for 5 years. Miriam, when you compare 5 years as prime minister and 10 years as deputy president, who qualifies to be a dynasty surely? I think William Ruto should restructure how he is doing these things.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. And I'm afraid we have to end our show right now and give way to our next conversation. Thank you so much. Gladwell Kiruga, we apologize. Your network was not very good this morning. And also Daniel Wasonga and Jevan Karanja. Don't go too far. We shall be right back. My name is Miriam Ogutu. Good morning.